Continuing here, I stopped off talking about this being uber cynical. And what I'm talking about here is when it comes to people dying out on the streets. Okay, um, people have to get this through their head that it's imperative that people keep dying out on the streets, the desperately poor, the downtrodden. Jesus, he said, that's me that you're allowing, tolerating, dying out on the street. And why it's critical, imperative, essential that the rulers, the evil rulers at the very top, maintain this status quo is because that it incentivizes people to continue to pay ever more exorbitant rents and mortgages and property taxes. Do you understand how this works? And it just eats me up inside. And this is why I know that I seek so much escapism in my own personal life. This is essentially what I blame for being sinful. And what makes me want to run from the so-called reality that's been shoved down my throat. And I've told, hey, you either participate, you jump on this bandwagon, and you play this wholly, undeniably, incontrovertibly rigged game, or you're going to be a failure. And you're going to be poor and mocked, and nobody's going to think anything of you. You're nobody. If you're poor in this world, in this establishment, in this paradigm, in this so-called reality in this world, okay, then you are looked down upon as being a failure and probably immoral. Probably you're lazy. Probably you got real issues. Not that you're anti-establishment and you refuse to play a rigged game, okay, not that you're virtue signaling, but you're saying, hey, I cannot go against my soul, basically. I can't go against my ethical and moral values, my integrity and my honor and all that kind of crap. No, it's not looked at like that. And until it is, I'm going to keep fighting the good fight. I'm going to be pissed off about it. I'm going to be outspoken. I'm just saying this is nonsense. This doesn't make any sense at all. No, what we need in this country is a basic guaranteed income. That will solve all the problems. Do you know what mass unemployment that would cause? And not by the people that receive the basic income. Okay, those are the ones that want jobs. A lot of these people would love to be wanted. Okay, a lot of them would love to be your slave. Okay, I'm sorry to go there. But let's just call it euphemistically your servant. That would love to just be able, they'll kiss the ground you walk on if you adopt a lot of these people, okay? And they will, look, things are not as they appear. And that's something we got to get through our heads here, all right? But why would there be mass unemployment? Well, let's start. What would be the effects of giving a basic guaranteed income whereby people could at least comfortably afford their housing, their food, their water, drinkable, potable water, and their energy needs? What would be the effect? Talk to a sociologist. It's one of the things I'm interested in. So I'll tell you right now, I guarantee it. Any sociologist that knows what in the hell he's talking about, that's honest, with integrity, with a conscience, will be intellectually honest with you, is going to tell you the first thing that you'd see in society it'd be a kinder, safer, gentler society. Gone are the carjackings and muggings and robberies and burglaries and illicit drug sales and the homicides that go with it, the prostitution, and of course abortion would fall away because women weren't financially insecure anymore, which is the biggest driver that induces women to abort their children. By the way, for anybody that thinks I roll my own cigarettes sometimes. I'm not sitting here smoking pot. Just FYI. I roll some and I smoke some pre-rolled. Just want to throw it out there. I'm not sitting in front of the camera smoking pot. I actually vote against legalization of pot in California. The best high I've always said is natural. That's not to say that I haven't had issues with, like everybody else. Everybody uses something, right? Even if it's just aspirin, it's still a drug. Coffee. I'm back to drinking coffee after my stomach flu. But, of course, I digress. But listen, so crime would plummet. Crime would plummet with a basic income. Overnight. So vast swaths of law enforcement would be out of a job. They'd be rendered irrelevant because crime plummeted. Dubious war would be much more difficult to get initiated. A righteous war, a man will pay to go fight. Go kick Hitler's butt, for example. The highly decorated Marine Corps General Smedley Butler pointed this out in his book, War's a Racket. And Eisenhower, we had a president when I was about 1 year old that explained it to the American people, that some people, black hats within these industries, will run it like a business. And they know in order to be relevant, you got to have war. So gone is a dubious war. Could you imagine things you're opposed to if you're opposed to a basic guaranteed income? The government. Who's the government? Oh, the government's... No, not welfare. No, God-given right. It's a way to skin the cat called the Federal Reserve Bank and the World Bank, right? Let's see, what else would be the benefits? Oh, well, we would need a social welfare industry. So we got a huge segment of society employed in the welfare industry. Wouldn't need that anymore. Then you would see the financial services industry. 25% of Americans, some 25% of Americans are employed in the financial services industry in some capacity. They'd be all out of work. Nobody would be needing to borrow money. People would easily be able to save up enough and just wheel and deal with the builders of houses. Say, look, I buy a house. How much is it going to cost me? I got a basic income here. Dramatically lower work week. Let's see, these are a few of the benefits. I actually made a list, or I started to, but traffic, an end to the nightmarish traffic in LA immediately, overnight. People not worried about punching clocks anymore. No need to. It's not that people don't go to work and are productive, but they're doing jobs that are important. National debt wouldn't exist. They couldn't debase our currency. There'd be no rhyme or reason to, because there'd be a cost of living adjustment set into the basic income as a check and balance to make sure that you thwart the evil attempts of these grand puppeteers, the market manipulators, the colluding special interest groups that are all working for these devilish purposes. It would thwart and preempt any attempt to, again, get a foothold and get us by the throat again. So just remember that. Chew on that, ruminate on that, contemplate about that, put that in your pipe and smoke it. If you're opposed to a basic guaranteed income for all humanity, because America sets an example, and then the rest of the world, we're the most influential country on earth. Who could deny that? You know, monkey see, monkey do. And so they'll see Americans do it, and they'll do the Mexican government. They'll say, hey, well, they got a wall up now. We're all humiliated. We might as well do it and show them that we can do it too, and that our people want to work and they'd love to be productive. Give them something to do. But if the reality is that people are only relevant for 5 hours a week, they're only needed, then what are you going to beat your head against the wall? I mean, go be an artist. Go do something creative. I mean, you can use your time any way you want. You're free. Go recreate. Go, do stuff. Go have fun. Go enjoy God's green earth. Okay? But the fact is that we could end poverty tomorrow worldwide. And I'm just speaking facts, folks. So if you're opposed to the stuff I'm saying, remember, you're opposed to humanity at large being free, absolutely, universally free. And you're opposed to American values. You're anti-American. You're un-American. And so, Whoever I'm talking to, Alex Jones. I mean, I love the man. Let me not take away from any of his accomplishments and my admiration and respect for the man. I mean, my dad even he knew about Alex Jones before I did. He knew he was outspoken about 9/11, and in fact, my dad was the first one that ever told me about 9/11, and he probably got it from guys like Alex Jones or his ilk. I mean, look, I had no idea. When 9/11 happened, like I said, I'm an older man than Alex. I should be wiser, but I didn't know. I was oblivious. Just like getting my son vaccinated, I didn't know that the hepatitis B shot could kill him if they give it on day one. I was oblivious. I didn't know that. He probably knew that. He would have never get. So I'm not taking away anything. I've learned boatloads from Alex Jones, boatloads of information. So I respect and admire him immensely. If I got to meet him, I certainly would be respectful. I think that, I like to think that I would talk to him respectfully and not be arrogant and self-righteous. I don't like those qualities about myself, but I can be that way. And I'm trying to go the other way and have a lot more humility and to be palatable and to really try to be effective in reaching people. But when somebody's wrong, has as much influence as Alex Jones out there, I feel compelled to speak up and try to influence the conversation, and to let him know, about this free market business. I mean, we've got to define these terms. You've got to expand and elaborate, qualify and quantify that statement. You talk about free market. We've got to inject the assassination of JFK. We've got to inject the Federal Reserve, cui bono, in that. And then this 2008 bailout and all that, and this 9/11 hoax. I mean, this pretense to go to war with Iraq and all this crap. I mean, God knows they're satanic forces. Okay, you have to be demonic to do anything like. Could you imagine having the blood on your hands and on your head of 3,000 plus innocent people that were murdered on 9/11? Okay. Can you imagine that? No human could withstand that. So that's why I say this is beyond human evil, 9/11. But it was guys like Alex Jones that first exposed that. Now we've got a group of over 2,100 architects and engineers, the Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth Group, okay, that says, look, it's a preposterous notion that these buildings would have fallen from these two planes. It's absurd, ridiculous. Don't even go there. Okay, these things were probably remotely controlled into the buildings. All the people were probably knocked out with gas, but they wouldn't respond like that. Okay, these fires would go out quick after the initial explosion. The jet fuel was burned off, and these were cool fires by and large. So the architects and engineers know it's a hoax. 6 out of 10 of the commissioners that investigated it said it's a hoax. It was just a big fraud. I mean, and yet we're cucked. You see what I mean? We're a cucked nation that we accept and tolerate this without all of us saying, no, we're bringing down the system because there's evil people at the top, these grand puppeteers. We've got to, even if they try to kill us all, okay, we know law enforcement and the military are largely good, decent, upright people. They're going to be on the side of we the people. So we can demand justice. We're all without excuse here for tolerating this. So that's why I've got to speak out. That's why I personally, as an individual, am compelled. I have to do it, or to live with myself, to sleep at night, to look in the mirror at myself. I can't do it unless I speak out about these things. But it was my dad initially that said it's a hoax. And I said, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Look, how can they do research and development on 110-story buildings, to figure out what's going to happen when these planes hit them? That was my own personal logic. That's why I walked away from it believing the official story, that somehow these were just some mad dog terrorists that hated the imperialistic, capitalistic views of Americana, the Western world that we exemplified with these towers, and that they hated us so much and that they wanted to bring it down because it's a big symbol of America. So I became ultra patriotic afterward. I was always buying American flags like everybody else and flying them, proudly and saying, hey, you know what, you hate America, well, come and get me. Was my attitude. I was willing to, to die for my country. I tried to join the National Guard on the morning of 9/11 because I believed the official story. I was rejected because I was 43 years old at the time. I was too old to join the National Guard. I wouldn't have wanted to go overseas, and I would have refused. I would have wanted to stay on our soil because that's where the attack took place, on our soil. So, if I was called on to vet the pilots or something, interrogate pilots, trained to interrogate pilots, see, are you a psycho? I mean, or to get more safety precautions in place to prevent these freaks from getting on board that would hijack a plane and run it into skyscrapers, killing thousands of innocent people. I would have been willing to do what I could, to work for the national safety, the National Guard. But I was rejected being too old. I call that age discrimination because I know I was at the prime of my life, never stronger in my life than when I was 43 years old.